Hello, everyone. My name is Dread, and this is Miss Valley Entertainment News, where we're covering all the news on all the entertainment you love. Today, we're covering Patch 2 for Baldur's Gate 3, and this is a lot of stuff to go through, so let's hit it right now. It says, hello, everyone. Patch 2 for Baldur's Gate 3 is now live, bringing bug fixes, substantial performance improvements, and much more. If you missed our last community update, we highly recommend you give it a read here for a glimpse of the future of Baldur's Gate 3 and the role your feedback is playing in that. I have a video on that community update. Check that out. Still here? Great. Withers has heard tales of Tavs, having requested the presence of their friends for an afternoon of adventuring, wanting to return to the lifestyle of a solo adventurer without their friends in tow. Therefore, he has come up with a solution. Introducing Wither's Wardrobe of Wayward Friends. With this woodworked wonder, you can now dismiss co-op party members and bring your companions back into the fold. Wither's solution only extends to custom tabs, however, so no throwing Gale into a cupboard, although we're sure it's comfy in there. Gale in a cupboard. That would make a mess. As well as plenty of performance improvements and UI tweaks, we've added a new epilogue scene for Karlach, and we're working on additional endgame scenes featuring other characters. Nice. Additional Karlach moments have also been added in Acts 1 and 2, allowing her to better reflect on her infernal engine and the options available to her. We've prepared the highlights of Patch 2 below, followed by the main meat of the update. Thank you for sharing your feedback with us and for your continued support. Any issues with Baldur's Gate 3, don't hesitate to reach out to our support team. So highlights, and we are not going to be doing any of the spoilers. So if you're seeing black bars on here, we are not looking underneath them. No spoilers. Highlights, features, introduce Wither's Wardrobe of Wayward Friends. Okay, now dismiss co-op party members from your campaign. Performance optimizations across the board and reduce the size of save games. Karlach. This patch brings an additional scene to conclude the ending in which Karlach, well, we don't know. If Karlach is in your party at the end of the game and something with her, you can now decide whether to something else. Added new moments for companion and avatar Karlach to reflect on the state of her something between acts. What is she reflecting on? The state of her... Nope, not going to say it. Added a new moment for avatar Karlach to reflect on the possibility of her becoming a bank teller? Maybe. Blockers. Fixed, potentially getting stuck in combat because a player character cannot be selected to end their turn. Fix an issue causing you to get stuck in dialogue with Angry Marhiai and Oyster Boy Dringo by the Sword Coast Couriers. UI improvements. Added a delete all but latest option for each campaign so you can regain a little storage space wiggle room. Nice. That's a good idea. Added new icons for equipped items. Easier to tell if they're equipped by the selected character, one of your characters, or another player's character. Who is hoarding all the interesting equipment? Added item rarity filters to the inventory. Your turn notification now lists which character's turn it is. The character summary on Level Up will now update to reflect changes in ability scores. The active search list now persists after being opened and is more informative. An action radial now creates containers for spells created by other spells, making them easier to manage. Crashes and blockers. What the whistle? Excuse me. Fixed an issue blocking saving. Fixed a crash when finishing character creation. Oh, that would suck. Fixed a crash when generating loot that can't be picked up. Fixed a crash when switching between controller and keyboard while scrolling up and down the credits. How do you do that? Fixed a crash when assigning an action to a slot in the radial menu. Fixed a crash when loading a save game. Fixed a crash when selecting pick up and add to wares on a multi-selection that included a corpse. Fixed potentially getting stuck in combat because a player character cannot be selected to end their turn. Fixed an issue of picking up corpses within containers. Ew. Putting a dead character in a container and then yeeting that container into a chasm will no longer permanently destroy the character. They will now float around as a resurrectable soul acto as expected. You will no longer get stuck in dialogue if you disconnect during an active roll and then reconnect. You'll no longer get stuck or die beneath the platform and the adamantine forge if you go to camp, use the platform, and then return from camp. Fixed an issue causing you to get stuck in dialogue with Angry Marhayai and Oyster Boy Dringo by the Sword Coast Couriers. Fixed a crash on venturing forth while the passives tab is selected. All right, I really getting dry here. Performance and optimization. Improved performance and made optimizations across the board. Makes sense. Improved CPU load. Made performance improvements related to controller movement. Made optimizations for when moving around the world on controller. Moved surface texture and decal creation to worker threads. Moved loading shroud textures to worker threads. When AI can use a nearby AI hint, limit AI flooding. Improved minimap performance. Optimize the controller map by removing some duplicate items. Reduce the size of save games. Made changes to loading save games made in older patch versions significantly faster. These changes will continue to make loading old save games speedier in any patches and hotfixes to come. Remove some unnecessary calls for the hotbar to update to improve on stuttering. Slightly delayed when tooltips pop up when hovering over things like actions, items, and spells. Prevents the game from unnecessarily loading and unloading tooltips. Delay is now set to 200 milliseconds, still reactive or performant. Made optimizations for selectable elements on controller. Removed an irrelevant sound analytics event for optimization. Fixed a memory leak when opening the inventory with a controller connected. Fixed a memory leak when streaming textures. Wrote velocity vectors to help with overall visual quality, for example, when using TAA to reducing visual aliasing. So UI stuff, hotbar and HUD made the hotbar items icons for the number of unlocked and available spell slots you have more intuitive. Fixed hotbar sliders disappearing when changing the selected character while sliding them. Fixed the portrait of summons not fitting in their frames in the party line. Inventory, improve the light source tooltip to clarify the purpose of the slot. Remove duplicate close prompts when the equipment slot pop-up is open. We got it the first time, thanks. Tweak the layout for equipment slots in the character sheet on split screen. If you're carrying a character in your inventory and the weight of that character's inventory changes, that character's weight will now update too. Combat. Fix portraits in the turn order UI sometimes disappearing under certain under certain conditions. Fix the combat log not always showing attack and damage rolls after loading a save game. Fixed advantage and disadvantage indicators, sometimes showing up in the active role UI in dialogue, even if you didn't have any available. The combat log will now have entries for all items looted from corpses. Fix the health animation bar. Fix the something missing its portrait and character model in its examine panel. Fix the saving throw overhead icon appearing over very much dead characters. Fixed attack roll bonuses sometimes being duplicated as penalties beneath the turn order UI in combat. Added information to reaction tooltips about whether the reaction is enabled and whether it's set to ask you before triggering or not. Also, make sure the resource type, reaction, appears at the bottom of the tooltips. The ask icon for reactions will now only be editable when a reaction is enabled. This is a lot to get through. Spells. Fix the Learn More Spells button, opening the window for the currently selected character instead of the character whose character sheet you clicked on. Fixed hard-coded text saying Manage Powers so that it can be translated. Journal. If there were lots of speakers in a dialogue, the list of their names would no longer be cut off in the dialogue history UI. Quest categories and entries in the journal will now remember whether you expanded or collapsed them. Trading. Added a mouse over label to the Balance Offer button in the Barter UI for clarity. Tooltips. Fixed conditions on nested tooltips not showing on pinned tooltips. Added Agonizing Blast Charisma modifier bonus to the damage on the Eldritch Blast tooltip. Saves. Added the difficulty setting to the save game info. Save games will now save under your character's name even if you're polymorphed. No more save games called sheep. Unless, of course, that's your character's name. Updated text to fix a button in the load save window. Options. Reorganize the keybinds menu into categories to make it more user-friendly. That would help. Reordered and reworked the options menu to make them more intuitive. The options menu now closes when you enter a dialogue while it's open. Fix the reset tutorials button in the options menu not working as expected. Character creation and level up. You can skip the level up animation, fix the class icon overlapping the level up banner, and fix the level up UI sometimes disappearing when leveling up. Well, that's not helpful at all. Miscellaneous, fix an issue causing the UI to disappear after speaking to Blurg. Made sure some non-player facing conditions and passives don't rear their heads. Made the context menu animation snappier and tweaked the background for a brighter, neater appearance. Brightened up the tutorial pop-ups and improved the alignment. Fixed the change difficulty screen fading a little too late and appearing briefly on the main menu. Fixed overlapping text for bonus names in the active role UI. Fixed some text being cut off by the Alchemy UI for translated languages. Fixed the ping action prompt saying empty when targeting containers. Woo-hoo. Now controller stuff. I don't use a controller, but let's go through this anyways for those of you who do. Radials, shortcut menu and character selection are now accessible from the action radial menu. Added fast travel to the character radial menu. Added shortcut prompts to the jump and hide actions on the action radial menu. Added a short delay to stick input after selecting an action in the radial menus to avoid accidentally selecting something immediately after that or moving the camera. Limited the maximum number of radial menus. Fixed ritual spells not being marked as such on the action radial menu. We promise they don't cost a spell slot. Fixed tooltips showing up in the action radial menu even if you have nothing selected. Added additional error messages for the radial menus. Added more detailed warning messages on controller to indicate why you can't perform a certain spell or action. Spell variants will now be placed at the top of the action radial menu instead of in the next available free slot, making it more consistent and user-friendly. Added a missing icon for heal in the radial menu. Character sheet. Made several improvements to the character sheet, for example, by adding zoom capability, updating the style of lists, the XP bar, and equipment slots, and adding an indicator for the character's main ability. Fix the light source menu not filtering light sources properly. Isn't that what it's supposed to do? Yeah. Added a brief description of what reactions are. Fix the abbreviations for abilities not fitting properly in Russian. A fix for your Russians out there. Fix some clipping and overlapping in the character sheet. Moved the consume action to the context menu and restored the equip action as a default in the inventory panel. Fix the prompt to toggle tooltips showing in the character sheet filters and fix the background of the slots increasing if the text on them is long. Fix character sheet navigation issues when using filters. Equipping an item via the equipment slot pop-up in the character sheet will no longer close the pop-up immediately. Repositioning tooltips slightly when checking equipment slots, and fixing some missing tooltips in the character sheet. Then we got world interaction. Added info about the state of containers, for example, if they're empty, to the active search menu. Fixed a small issue in cursor error messages. Fixed the ping action not exiting the ping state on left stick press. Fixed the examine panel on objects or characters with multiple resistances not scrolling properly. Made it possible to select and inspect more items in the examine panel, like item descriptions and conditions. Fixed some portraits missing in the examine panel and polished the selector. Fixed the context menu not being navigable. Can't navigate it using the D-pad. HUD. Fixed issues with overlapping text and UI fading in the party line and the resource bar. Fix an issue preventing you from grouping or splitting summons when you only have one party member available. Removed arrow icons from D-pad button prompts. Updated button prompts and made them look more consistent. Added a background image for luck points to match the other resources. Fixed the long rest button prompts falling off the edge of the screen or overlapping other button prompts, particularly in translated languages. Fixed the button prompts overlapping the resource bar in turn-based mode. Cleaned up button prompts at the bottom of the screen to make them more consistent. Made improvements to the action resource bar, such as position and color changes. Also reworked the movement indicator to account for larger numbers and increased icon width to avoid stretching. Woo, this is just all stuff for, wow, okay, we're almost through this stuff, the controller stuff. Spells, fixed up being able to cast a spell with variants from a spell scroll. Fixed some overflowing text in the spell book for translated languages. Tweak the performance or the appearance, of default spells in the prepared spells section of the spell book so they don't look inaccessible. Added more info to the spell book about when you can and cannot change your spells, even if you're not a spellcasting class. Combat made it more obvious if you're low on health at the start of your turn in combat. Fix not being able to attack stalactites with ranged spells. Tweak the reactions UI. Added surface info to the cursor on controller. Rearranged some of the cursor target details. Added a new overlay for surfaces when D-pad is pressed down. And added the actions prompt in combat. Improved readability in the combat log by reducing empty space and tightening up the list. Made reactions that are turned off still readable and gave them a grayed out icon. Tooltips and adjusted some margins and sizes in tooltips to avoid issues like damaged text getting cut off. Improved the tooltips, added new icons, tidied them up with new font sizes and placement. Fixed the inspect prompt, added the right color and icon for the equipped line, added a new frame, footer, and header style. Tooltip prompts now show if they're enabled or not. Tweak the placement of tooltips for open containers. Fix tooltips showing up in dialog while the dialog options are still hidden. Fix the width of pinned tooltips changing when selected. Trading. Pressing your cancel button will now close the filter pop-up in the trade UI. Fix the trade button prompts overlapping the split item button prompts. Fix the trader attitude not showing up in the trade window. Character creation and level up. You can now rotate and zoom in and out on your character in character creation when you're choosing a name. You can now access multiplayer settings during character creation as well. Fix scrolling with controller in the prepare spells section of level up. Fix characters in character creation sometimes getting obscured by tooltips on the controller. Added a grid icon and button prompt on character creation options and open up a grid for selection, like when choosing colors on controller. On split screen, if one character is watching an origin character's introduction, another one zooming in and out and spinning their character around in character creation, that second person's button prompts will no longer affect the origin character's introduction. Spell tooltips in character creation will now always show up in the same horizontal alignment. Fix the alignment of chevrons in the character creation. And miscellaneous. Fix the enter invite code text box for a direct connect getting cleared when you deselect it. Made general visual improvements to the controller UI. Fix scrolling and cropped text in the journal. Added info about how long you need to press and hold. Fix some issues with navigating the dialog history UI. Updated the layout of the save load window. Added in-game locations for quick saves and autosaves. Made it possible to see longer save game names. Adjusted line heights in the multiplayer lobby and option menus to save space and reduce the need to scroll. Multiplayer UI. Fix secondary local players not having quest location and secret map markers unlocked until saving or loading. Fix some host error messages appearing on client screens. Dialogue interface settings such as font size will now be applied to both players of split screen. Enable the combat feed on split screen. Fix some of the UI getting cut off on split screen when a player is in the multiplayer settings. Fix tooltips overlapping the party line on split screen. Fixed button prompts being mirrored when connecting a secondary local player. Fix an empty notification when another player starts a turn in split screen. Fix multi-selection for containers in split screen. Fix split screen not hiding when a full screen UI, like the save window, is open, causing you to see things like tooltips in the full screen UI. Fix the alignment of the turn order UI in split screen when two players are in different combats at the same time. Oh, that's confusing, yes. Gameplay. If you dismiss your companions to camp and shove them into a chasm, Withers will now be able to resurrect them, so you can shove them into a chasm again properly. Clicking a party member's portrait on the map or mini-map will now select that character and focus on them. Fixed client-server inconsistencies for attack of opportunity, causing the client to incorrectly indicate that an entity will react to you even if it can't, for example, if it's prone or unconscious. Fixed characters' soul echoes, sometimes teleporting away from where the character died. Fix projectiles not waiting for items to leave inventories. Fix the hide during dialogues option for helmets, sometimes causing your character to lose their hair after a dialogue. The portal to the House of Hope will no longer decide to become invisible. Fix complex idle animations, sometimes not starting. Animations are always the bane of video games, aren't they? Falling items will now leave turn-based mode and then re-enter after falling to fix them remaining suspended in the air. Remove the examine. That's a really good one, actually. Remove the examine option from some options that shouldn't be examinable. Fix knockdown entities always playing their knockdown animation when loading in a frame. Fix the falling damage number preview when preparing to jump, not always matching how much damage ought to be dealt. Fixed edge panning not working correctly when the camera is locked on a party member. Fixed reactions not always triggering if you sneak and then cast silence, or when using Asterian's vampire bite action. Active search. The starting search radius is increased. The camera moves to the selected item, and you now get a button hint for active search after every combat until level 3. Tutorial pop-up for trapped items won't trigger anymore when coming near certain destroyed traps. Fix the option to pickpocket your companions, sometimes disappearing in single player. Prevented you from being able to multi-select and then drop other players' items. Fix not being able to split item stacks outside of your turn. Fix not being able to enter turn-based mode with a down character. Fix items briefly appearing beneath your feet when you pick them up. Fix being able to see characters turn towards you briefly before a dialogue starts. Fix the lava visual effects disappearing if you load a game that was saved during the combat with Grem. Combat and balance. Fix an issue with auras, causing NPCs to make inefficient choices like running towards you to shove you, then running away again to make a ranged attack. Fixed blank. Blasting right through the ice shields you can hide behind. Aggressive beasts now enter combat instead of fleeing when attacked from afar. Additionally, when you attack an NPC from afar out of combat, they're now more likely to sprint up to you instead of getting stuck. Fix your resources not getting restored on your next turn if you join the combat late. Blank is no longer too stubborn to die. She will now go down at 0 HP or when knocked out. Timer in the Chamber of Courage will now reflect the current number of turns remaining. Fix certain spells not taking into account inherited conditions. Updated the grace period for joining a combat late to be at the end of world items turn in the first round. Flow and scripting. Fix silence characters sometimes not being able to start story critical dialogues, like with other party members or bosses at the end of a combat. Fix an issue causing party members to be silenced after every dialogue. If you break your oath as a paladin, or paladine if you prefer, the Oathbreaker Knight will now come back to your camp in later acts, despite how much you may have scandalized him. Fix companions sometimes not saying anything during dialogues when they're supposed to make comments. Fix an issue where only the character who accepted the request from Lucretius to find dribbles can talk to her after doing so. Fix Dale not reacting to your having something. Fix Gale's dialogue force closing when offering him something. I'm sure it's ice cream. Fix Gale's romance scene not triggering in Act 1. Fix Gale commenting on a deal with Raphael before it's made. If something or someone gets killed or however before they're rescued in gameplay, they will now remain dead. Carrie will no longer get stuck in the atelier if the dialogue didn't trigger after something. Fixed enemies sometimes spawning outside of the atelier at the Janeth estate when hitting the portrait. Something from Moonrise Towers that take the boat with you will no longer attempt to arrest you for trespassing upon arriving at last light. Fixed a bug causing Asterian to be permanently knocked out by the blank during a camp night and disappearing after a long rest. Fixed a bug where Gortash had a dialogue bubble over him after being knocked out. By clicking on him wouldn't result in a dialogue. Bubble is no longer present, and you can now loot him after knocking him out. Fixed a bug where Ravenguard would disappear from the camp after something. Dark Urge players something during dialogue will now have the appropriate level something during the duel with something. Character creation leveling up. You can skip the level up animation. Fixed characters in character creation sometimes getting obscured by tooltips on the controller. Spell tooltips to character creation will now always show up in the same horizontal alignment. Fix the class icon overlapping the level up banner. Added a grid icon and button prompt on character creation options. Whew. There's a lot. If you figured out there's a lot here in this patch, there's a lot in this patch. Then open up a grid for selection, like when choosing colors on controller. On split screen, one character watching an origin character's introduction. Now they're zooming in and out. We already had tackled that somewhere else. Character summary on level up will now update to reflect changes in ability score and fix the alignment of chevrons on the character creator. Level design and map. Fix some artifacts appearing on the bottom right of the screen due to fog of war. Fix the map shroud not working correctly when the area of the goblin camp. Fix the bug preventing you from walking on certain items like something. Steam Deck. Reworked our system for default video options so that values are defined per platform. For example, the Steam Deck will now default to 16:9. Settings now default to auto rotate camera with speed set to max. This works better for a snappy handheld experience. Cinematics cleaned up some mocap in dialogues around the game. Fix healing numbers appearing in the cinematic dialogue when you press the button in the dank crypt. When taking something, dead something is no longer floating in the air. Fix your head clipping into wheels as you kiss on the ground. Other, fix several text issues like typos. I'm going to rate this up. Number 3,951 to rate this up. This just came out today, people. This is a huge motherfucking patch. I'm sorry, I get excited, I swear. This is a really, really large patch. If you read through these, you understand how much care and effort Larian Studios is putting into this game and to making things correct. They are not caring and walking away from this. These are the guys who said after the game came out, yeah, we're going to go on holiday and then we're going to be working on something else. We don't want to do any Baldur's Gate. They're doing nothing but Baldur's Gate right now. They're doing nothing but Baldur's Gate because you're reaching out to them and they're listening to you. This is a company that listens. If you don't understand how important that is, you probably haven't played video games lately because a lot of companies don't listen to people. So be very thankful for what Larian's doing and enjoy your Baldur's Gate 3 post-patch 2. From Miss Valley Entertainment News, my name is Dread. We'll catch y'all later. Thank you. Bye-bye.